Hey, what's up, guys? So I wanted to put out a quick video on, my experience with Topstep, why I highly recommend looking into this, and how I'm kind of talking to my team about, you know, the the benefits of being a part of Topstep and doing futures trading. So the biggest thing is to do a $50,000 trading combine. It costs $50. It's $50 a month. If you pass the combine, then you'll have a $150 activation fee where you'll move on to what they call a XFA account. In the XFA account, that's where you can actually start getting payouts. And but to prove that you are, ready for that, you have to be able to get. I've only done the $50,000 account. I've not done the $100,000 or the $150,000 account yet. I'm only focusing on the 50,000, and they've made a few changes recently. So honestly, I probably am just going to stay with this one account because they're not allowing you to have multiple accounts. At least from how I understood the release. So the goal is to get $3,000 before you lose 2,000. So when you start with a $50,000 account. Your goal is to get to 53,000 before you get to negative, or not negative, get down to 48,000. But if you look at this, when I went down, it stayed the exact same, right? But then when I start going up and I start having a positive, you start seeing how this has a trailing stop behind it, right? And then all of a sudden it gets up to the $50,000 account. So the same thing starts out with the Express account, except for instead of starting at 50,000, you start at zero. You have a maximum trailing stop of negative $2,000, and then sky's the limit. You can grow it up as much as you want. You have you have $50,000 to trade with, but where I wanted to kind of go with this was why I think that this is so amazing. So if you're in America, if you don't have $25,000 sitting in your brokerage account, you can't day trade, and so you have to basically have $25,000 locked up, and then whatever you have over that, you get a trade with. The reason I think that futures is awesome is because I pay $50 and I have to pass this combine, right? Okay, cool. I passed the combine. Well, then after I pass the combine, I go to the XFA account. Which, one second. This is my newest XFA account. I started on the 13th, and you have to pay $150 to activate the account, right? Like I said, it starts at zero. I have $50,000 that I can trade with, and all I'm trying to do is not get a max drawdown of $2,000. As this goes up, my trailing stop also goes up, right? The idea of this is I can prove that I can not only manage my money and trade well, but that I can be a business person. Like, okay, like you imagine you start any kind of business. You start I don't know, a pizza place or a kickboxing gym or whatever it is. Like you're not gonna start on day two and then just start paying yourself, right? You have to have 5 winning days of $200. They don't count anything if you make $100. That's not a winning day. You have to have $200 or more to count as a winning day. You also have to scale up, right? So I don't want to open this because I don't want to see. I don't want to make sure you guys can't see my account numbers and all that kind of stuff. But after I get to X amount of money, I think it's $1,500. Once I get up to $1,500, I can have 3 contracts. Well, the way that I trade, I know I'm talking relatively quick. If anybody has any questions, you guys can message me all you want. But I'm not trading with full contracts. For me, to trade a full S&P contract, okay, cool. I have two, and my style of trading is I'm looking for structure. I'm looking for like it to find a ceiling, it to find a floor, and I buy the floor. I'm looking to sell like halfway point, and then I hold the rest for the top. Vice versa, if I'm looking to short sell, which I've been doing a lot lately because the market's been tanking. I see this thing going up towards the ceiling. I short sell it. I look to sell part of my contracts about the midpoint, and then I hold the rest for the floor. If I get to this midpoint, I get at least $200, like 9 out of 10 times. I'm only trading with 5 contracts, and I kind of want to go over that in a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is because I started sizing up way too much, and I blew my first account because I would get super super greedy, and that's another thing. I'm going to go over that really quick. So this was my first ever account, right? I never traded before this. I had my first red day, and then I have little wins, right? So I'm down 270. Okay, no problem. Make almost 500. Make almost 400. Low threes, mid threes. Oh, well, look at that. Like, why did I just jump up from, 300, 400s to 1200? It's because that's one of my problems is I like to just go 100%, right? And so that was the problem is because I can size up a lot quicker, and the leverage in futures is insane. And if you don't do it in an intelligent way, you're gonna blow your account, which I did. I blew this account, and so I took a reset period, and then I restarted, and I learned from my experience, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna use like 30 contracts and start making $1,200 days. I think that it's much better to just take small little wins, which I'm going to go to here in a second. So this is my last combine that I passed, and if you look at this, it's very gradual. 240, okay, mid fives, almost five, like mid fours, 200, 700. Okay, 500. Okay, like there's one day that was a little bit bigger, but if you go down here and like look at this, I did have one day where I went over a lot. Well, 2 days that I went over a lot. I started catching myself. I was like, hey, dude, because I do this in small caps also. I'll do really well, and then I'll add a shit ton of size and go for these huge days. But like, if you look at that, I almost blew this account. And it's a pattern that I started to recognize, and I was like, okay, what I need to do is just gradually build this up. So what I did was I told my students, and I'm also making a video for this, because I do think that futures is a very good option. Why? Because, like I said, it's $50 a month to get a combine. If you pass the combine, which in my experience is really not that difficult. It really isn't. It's as long as you have a strategy and you have the discipline to follow it, which I'm stating right now. Like, my problem is I get a little bit overconfident and I start going balls to the wall, and that's where my discipline starts getting sloppy, and but as long as you can catch that, you can start to recognize that, you can start making changes to where you don't screw up. But the reason I think that this is much better than small caps is because, like I said, so you have a combine, right? $50. You pass that, $150. So you're in for a total of $200. Sorry for the drawing, really shitty with this kind of stuff. You're in $200. You're risking $200. The capital that they give you is not your money. It's the prop trading firms. It's Topstep's money. You are going to get paid as a contracted. You're going to get a 1099, and you're going to be a subcontractor for the prop trading firm, and you're going to do a 90-10 split. But the beautiful thing about the Express account is that the first $10,000 that you get as payouts, it's all your money. You don't have to do a split or anything. The first 10 grand is yours. After that, then you do a 90-10 split. And for me, I feel like it's really I feel like it's a great option for people to start to dabble in the market, because you don't have to have $25,000 sitting in an account. Like in my small caps account, I have to have at least $25,000 sitting in an account to be able to day trade. unless you go to like some offshore broker, or you find like a loophole or something, which I've done before, but they don't have the best fees and everything. This, you can absolutely make a ton of money, and what I consider a ton of money. Like really, as long as I'm averaging like $400 or $500 a day. I mean, you start adding that up, that's a good chunk of change, like over the course of a year. And I feel like that's where a lot of these people that are teaching in these rooms, they undervalue like little baby steps forward every single day. Like they're looking to get people excited and emotional, and then people start trying to make $2,000-3,000 a day, because that's what I was doing. And I feel like I had to unlearn a lot of those bad habits. But really, if you make $100 a day on average, you're making $25,000 a year. If you can make an extra $25,000 a year, like for a lot of people that I know in my life, that's life changing kind of money. What I'm trying to go for is around $400 or $500 a day, which is going to average out to $126,000 a year. That's what my goals are. But I've been training for 6 years, and I have a lot of experience. And my biggest problem is not being able to put on winning trades. My biggest problem is chill myself out, because I'll get overconfident and I'll try to size up way too big, which is why I told my students that, hey, until I get this account, which I want to go to really quick. So once I get this account to $5,000, that's when I'm going to start to allow myself to gradually start scaling up. This thing allows me to use 2 contracts. Like I said, though, I don't trade full S&P contracts. I trade micros, which I can trade up to 20 micros. What I'm trading is with 5 micros, and which is for most people in the futures world, they'd be laughing at me because it's 5 micros, and they're like, oh, you can't make any money with 5 micros. It's like, oh, you can't. I made $300 in one day. And that's another thing that I want to talk about is what would you think about? I want you to really think about this. In 23 minutes, I made $300. In 17 minutes, I made $500. But the other thing is, look at this. One trade. So I'm not even sitting there the whole time. I take the trade, I place the trade, and I walk away. 23 minutes, 17 minutes, I've made over $700 in trades. Like, I'm not saying that's going to be exactly what everyone's going to get, but I've spent 6 years of my life really gaining the skills to do this. And the other reason that I feel like this is way better than small caps is the leverage. The leverage, it's a double-sided sword, though, because if you over-leverage yourself, like I showed previously, you start to, if you can make a lot of money, you can lose a shit ton of money. But if you can do this, and fight your demons, which my demon is, I get greedy and I want to go, I was averaging, over $1,000 days, a couple years ago. And, when I got a family, it made me have more responsibilities to where I couldn't risk that much. And I think a part of me wanted to get back to where I'm like, hey, dude, like I'm making those $1,000 days, pretty regularly again, and getting back to that. The difference is you don't have to, like, I mean, that's insane. If you really think about that, you start making, $300 days on average. Like, you just changed your entire, like, imagine what you could do instead of, letting the greed, turn your head and like, oh, I want new cars, I want a new house, which is exactly what happened to me, which is why, I feel like it's very valuable to, share this kind of stuff, because, I had these mentors that, would try to, guide me or whatever, but like, honestly, those guys are absolute morons. They like, and half the guys, I found out 2 of the guys don't even actually trade. That like, so the money that I was making, I was actually doing better than my actual mentors, because those dumbasses weren't even trading. And it's crazy how many people are just so full of shit and try to, in my opinion, corrupt you. Imagine what you could do if you have, say, you're making $300 a day on average. You know, eight like okay, you know maybe not 500 right off the bat, but like just $100. You have an extra 25 grand. You know, obviously you got to pay some taxes on that. You're gonna get 1099 from Topstep, but you can also turn that into a business to where you can start writing off things, and you could change the course of your life by doing little things. You know, like the one of my biggest pet peeves is seeing all these people just talk shit about you know the stock market or real estate or whatever. Like I got the pleasure of talking to one of my idols, Alex Ramosi, and one thing that he said was there's only three ways to actually make money, like actual real money in your life, and that is you either learn how to build a business, brick and mortar or online business or whatever it is. You have to be a business owner. You get into real estate, or you make money in the stock market. If you're just going to go do a W-2 job, like you're never going to have what he considers and what I consider true freedom. And for me, I think that when I finally started making good money, that I lost that freedom because I got greedy, and I let these chat rooms that only talk about money, and you have all these guys that are making thousands of dollars a day, and you start comparing yourself to other people, and I feel like it corrupted me, and it made me I honestly I almost lost everything. And I luckily met my family, and they kind of guided me back to, hey, like money's not everything. Like what you want is you want time. Imagine how much time you could have if you threw all this money towards your debt. Imagine if you start doing this kind of stuff where, okay, yeah, it's not going to happen tomorrow or next month, but push that off and have discipline for the next couple of years and pay off your house, pay off your cars. And that's exactly what I started to do, and I started to show all my students. I was like, hey, look at this. Like, I don't have car payments. Both my cars are debt free. That saved me, what was that, like $700 a month. I don't have to pay for car payments. Like that's huge. The next thing is little debts that you start adding up. Okay, pay that off. Like, what's the next big thing? The house payment. Like, imagine how much freedom that gives you when you just start to slowly chip away instead of trying to find these giant paydays, which I'm kind of talking to myself right now, because it's really difficult when you can start to see the possibilities of being able to make $1,000 a day, in very short amount of time. Like, even this though. I mean, look at this. Like, made $800 in like less than an hour. Okay, unless you're like a lawyer or something, like I'm not gonna make that kind of money, like, ever. And so for me, if you start learning these skills, I don't know, like, just push through it and keep trying to better yourself. But for me, I had a couple of students that are brand new that have never traded in the stock market before, and I never thought I would recommend futures over small caps, because really small caps, 90% of them they're going to shoot up and they shoot down. The problem is the patience and understanding of the game. It's very difficult. On top of that, you have to have $25,000 in the account. This, I literally paid $200 and I have a $50,000 trading account. And okay, like that for me, that is a lot better starting point than, okay, you're gonna sit 25 grand into an account. That's a lot for most people. And so for me, I want to make this video about why I think that futures is a really good option. And even if you don't pass the combine for a while, I have one student that has been in the combine for, I think he's been trading for like 2 years. He's been working with me for about 6 months now, and he's never passed the combine. So I mean, yeah, he's paying $50 a month, but I mean, think about your Netflix or your Hulu or your Disney Plus or whatever subscriptions you got. that are not valuing or not getting you ahead in life, you can put $50 a month into something and actually be able to give yourself the possibility of having a better life. I feel like that's much more valuable. So I wanted to share my experience. Like I said, I am not, a expert at trading futures. Like I literally just started 2 months ago. But what I have done is I've made a shit ton of money trading small caps, and I do think that starting with, if I could go all the way back in time, I could talk to myself when I first started going down this journey, I would have absolutely done futures over small caps. And the reason for that is you don't need as much capital, and I don't know, as long as you're being mindful of how you're scaling up, and as long as you have a structured business plan and somebody that can actually guide you, that is, I don't know, I feel like I could have made a lot more money doing it this way than I did in small caps, because for the first, hell, I don't even know, like 2 or 3 years, I didn't really make anything in small caps. I lost quite a bit of money. Then I made a bunch of money back when COVID happened. I thought that I was a little hot shot, and I went and bought an amazing house down in Florida, and then I almost ruined my freaking life and over leveraged myself and didn't have the experience to know, hey man, like, yeah, the market changes, and what was working for me and allowed me to make a lot of money, it changed, and I started getting my ass kicked, and it was a lot. But I mean, this kind of stuff. I mean, you could literally do this at your job. That's exactly what I do. I have a full-time job that pays for all my bills, and then on the side, like I said, I take a break. I mean, how many people do you know go out for a smoke break? Okay, hey, I'm gonna take my smoke break, and I'm gonna, quadruple my income that I make from this job, and that's what I do. So hopefully somebody gets something from this. And like I said, if you are just trying to learn how to do this kind of stuff, I'm going to be putting out a free series on YouTube that will kind of, teach you at least the basics. You don't have to pay me any money for any of that kind of stuff. Just follow my YouTube channel, and it should give you enough information to where you can start getting the basics. If you do want extra help, I do have a community that I am teaching people. But like I said, I think that to just get started, you don't really need somebody. You don't need to be paying anybody to really help you a ton. Now, if you want to be serious with this, I think that having a community is very important to have. Like I said, if you guys are looking for a community, at least have somebody that's going to show you like the real shit. So hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you later.